Hi everyone, you might not believe this, but I was diagnosed with ADD in the 3rd grade. My teacher thought that I was maybe mentally handicapped and had some sort of cognitive disability and that I was perhaps abused at home. So as a result, Child Protective Services was called on my parents and there was an investigation that went underway and they sent me to a local hospital for psychiatric evaluation. And it turns out that I was diagnosed with ADD there, but I was also IQ tested. My IQ turned up to be 129, which on this particular scale was bordering on genius. So unfortunately, I'm not completely a genius, but I'm pretty dang close. You can trust me, I'm a stranger. Anyways, at that moment, they decided to put me on some Ritalin. Ritalin was this curious drug that helped me out for a little while. It showed me a place in my mind where I can go, where I could focus on something, and I could apprehend information a lot easier, and I felt like it was blocking out a lot of other things. Unfortunately, I felt it also robbed me of my creativity. So it was a double-edged sword, right? I could be in class with my Ritalin, I can focus on what the teacher is saying, I could do mathematics so much easier. I could imagine what I was going to write and what I was going to say a lot easier, and I was able to communicate a lot more clearly. Unfortunately, my imagination went out the window, and I was a daydreamer. I like staring off and imagining things, shapes and colors, and beings and things dancing around. All sorts of weird stuff. I wish I could describe it better in this video, but it's something that was very personal that I was just perceiving with my own imagination as a young man. I was also left-handed, and the reason I was left-handed when it came to writing words was I remember tracing the letters on the sheet of paper, the lined paper where you had to write each letter, like the A, the B, and the C, and all that. The issue I had with writing with my right hand was I couldn't imagine the letters. My hand was blocking what I wanted to imagine drawing on the paper. With the left hand, I could clearly see everything that I needed to trace with my pen or my pencil, and I can move it around. And that's the reason why I'm left-handed. That's the reason why I made that decision of writing with my left hand. I know everyone else is writing with the right hands for the most part. There was a couple other lefties in my class, but fortunately, my teacher was reading a book called Unicorns Are Real. And it's a book I've never read, but apparently this book embraced left-handed people and actually encouraged left-handedness in people who are naturally left-handed. And it cited things like people who are left-handed are more right-brained or more intuitive and more creative kind of people. So I don't know if that necessarily factors in me being a creative individual or a daydreamer or anything like that, but it might give you a little more insight in the chaos that's going on in this old guy's head here on this channel. So back to the Ritalin. I took the Ritalin for a while and it certainly helped me go to a place in my mind where I could focus. But I didn't like it entirely because, like I said, it robbed me of my creativity. I couldn't imagine things. It seemed like I was better at logic and reason and mathematics and was more left brain in that regard. So when you're left-handed, you're more right brain and more imaginative. And when you're right-handed, you're more left brain, they say, which is more logic and reason and science and facts and mathematics and things like that. So regardless of being left or right-handed, this showed me more of that other side of my brain, if you will, or perhaps other parts of my brain that weren't lighting up as well. So the drug certainly helped me. But I didn't like it, so I asked if I could be pulled off the drug, to which my parents replied, if you can keep your grades up for the rest of the year, then we can see about you staying off the medication. So they took me off the medication, I kept my grades up, and I didn't have to take it anymore, thankfully. Now the nice thing about this medication was it showed me a place I can go in my mind without the medication. It was a useful tool. I don't think it was necessarily a good thing for me personally to keep taking it. Now I know we're all different. We all have different body chemistries and brain chemistries. So some people might need to keep taking their medication, their Ritalin or their Adderall or whatever it might be. Maybe you have to take beta blockers. Maybe you have to take some sort of antidepressant. Whatever it might be, if it works for you, that's great. Keep taking it. I'm not a doctor. I'm not qualified to tell people to take or not take medication. All I can do is speak for myself and my own personal experience when it came to Ritalin. And I'm really glad I made the decision to not take it at a young age. And I'm glad that I got something out of the drug. It was very useful. A part of my psychiatric evaluation in 3rd grade, they said that I was bored and my teacher wasn't challenging me enough. So my teacher was pretty upset after calling Child Protective Services and my parents, only to realize that she was not doing her job the best way she could be doing for all of the students. I think she was a wonderful teacher for most of the class, but for people like me, it wasn't really good. For instance, she actually said in the report she wrote up that Douglas has a tendency to hang out with loners. What's wrong with that, right? How am I hanging out with a loner? If two people are loners and they're hanging out, are they alone anymore? No. I thought that maybe that person needed a friend. I thought that Eric needed a friend. I thought that Joey needed a friend. So I would hang out with people who were also alone because I was often alone by myself too. And because I was more or less alone and kind of a weird kid, I thought that I could probably hang out with someone else who's also alone because they know what it's like to be alone. I just thought that was strange that she said Douglas has a tendency to hang out with loners. What does that even mean? You know, that's just silly. Anyways, I digress. By the time I get back to middle school, they put me on Adderall, and the Adderall was a little different. It was a little more speedy and peppy, but also gave me that level of focus, and apparently it was more popular choice for ADHD for adults. Now, keep in mind, I was diagnosed with ADD, attention deficit disorder, not ADHD, but eventually all ADD became classified as ADHD, and ADD was no longer a thing on its own. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but that's my basic understanding of my diagnosis. Maybe I heard the wrong information, but yeah, please drop a line if you know anything about ADD and ADHD. I'd love to hear your stories, actually. I love perspective. So the same deal happened in middle school. I promised, hey, I'll do good in school or I'll do better, and I stopped taking the drug as a result. And then high school came around and I fell in with some burnout crowd people, and I stopped caring so much about my education. And my goal, in fact, as stated in the previous video, was to keep and maintain a D- grade point average so I can graduate with the lowest possible score, because apparently I had something to prove to the world about the education system, and I don't even know what I was trying to prove. It was dumb of me. I wish I did better in high school and I got a scholarship to a college. I could have done very well at a much younger age, I feel. But all things in good time. I was obviously a late bloomer, and by the time I got to college, I had myself a 3.76 GPA. And I think right now it's up to a 3.8 after my previous semester I just did in 2020. I had to take some prerequisites for a new and exciting occupation I'm looking to get into, ironically enough called occupational therapy. I'm hoping to be an occupational therapist assistant by the year of 2024. So after this year is done, in January of 2022, I will pass the TEAS exam in January with any luck, and then apply for the Occupational Therapist Assistant program at Macomb Community College. And I hope to graduate once again by 2024 and start practicing maybe by 2024 or 2025. Real excited about that because that profession is more and more interesting to me, and I get more and more excited about getting involved in the occupational therapy profession the more I learn about it. Occupational therapy has a lot to do with people's ADLs, or activities of daily living. Things we do for ourselves on an everyday basis, just standard household chores, even leisurely activities, our hobbies, our exercise regimens, hanging out with other people socially. All these things are considered activities of daily living, things that make life worth living, ways you like to occupy your time. So occupation doesn't necessarily have everything to do with what you do for a living, but it has to do with what makes living worth living, I guess. So I'm excited about doing that. I'm excited about helping people with disabilities, the elderly, and people with injuries keep, maintain, and maybe perhaps even obtain more abilities to make their life more easier and more manageable on their own. One of the big things I also like about occupational therapy is it's very patient-centric. So unlike other forms of therapy, there is a by-the-book approach to doing things, like say in physical therapy. There are certain techniques and certain protocols and certain regimens to get that certain muscle group working properly again. Now with occupational therapy, it's more holistic. It takes the whole entire person into light, it takes their faith, takes their hobbies, takes their personal interests, what their goals are. We take a look at the whole picture. I'm already saying like I'm an occupational therapist. But the point is that what we would do as occupational therapists is take a look at the whole entire person and find a proper treatment plan for them and help assist them in achieving their own personal goals. It's a beautiful thing. Patient-centered treatment plans are something that I don't think are taken into account enough when it comes to Western medicine, in the United States especially. Healthcare is a very, very weird thing, the way it's been politicized over the years. It's financially driven for the most part. It's a business, and it's unfortunate that it's become a business because business looks at the bottom line and profits rather than the health of people. You have people who are not getting the treatment they need in order to survive and to maintain a life worth living simply because they can't afford a certain kind of insurance, or they're caught in between that zone where they can't necessarily get government assisted insurance and they don't make enough to afford a good, decent insurance policy. So they're left in the middle in this in-between zone where they're just kind of lost. And even then, there's plenty of people with disabilities and the elderly that don't get the treatment they need simply because Medicaid and Medicare can't cover it, or because they don't have enough savings. No fault to them too. Sometimes people work really hard their whole lives and they save up everything they possibly can, and some black swan event comes by and just takes all of their savings away and they have nothing to show for it. It's an unfortunate reality here in the United States, and other parts of the world too, but I think especially here in the United States when it comes to healthcare. There seems to be no easy solution to it, and I think that things could be a lot better too if we can just reappropriate some funds federally from other things that we might be spending it on that's just plain wasteful spending. I'm not going to get into that because I don't want to get into politics here on this channel, but I do feel that healthcare is definitely something that is not taken seriously enough or addressed often enough on a political level. Wow, that was a mouthful. So I apparently must have ADD, right? I don't know what to say about that. That's it, folks. Thanks very much for listening to my rant. I know I was all over the place, but that's the nature of the Amazing Flec here on my channel. Now, I post every single day for the year of 2021. That's my promise I made to myself and as well as my viewers back at home. That means you, whether you're watching on your cell phone or on your laptop or on your desktop computer or wherever, maybe on your tablet. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. The point is I appreciate you for watching this, and thank you very much for giving me your attention. And I post about way too many things. I'm breaking all the rules. They say you're not supposed to post every single day. You'll annoy the heck out of people, and that you're supposed to specialize in something that you are trying to reach your target audience with. I'm breaking the rules. I post about whatever the heck I want to post about. I have many different interests, and that's reflected in my playlist section here on my channel. So if you're interested in anything else I have to say about stuff, check out my playlist section. I've organized all the content I made so far this year in my playlist, and you'll be surprised. I'm sure you'll find something there you find interesting. But one thing I do consistently here on this channel is I post a weekly circus and flow arts tutorial. This is what I'm best known for in the southeastern Michigan area. This is called contact juggling. It's juggling while you're in contact with the object you're manipulating. Isn't that kind of cool? Reminds you of that thing that David Bowie did in that movie The Labyrinth that one time, right? Well, I teach you how to teach yourself how to do contact juggling. And contrary to popular belief, contact juggling is a lot more accessible than you might imagine. Toss juggling, toss, catch, toss things in the air. It takes a lot of hand-eye coordination. But with contact juggling, you feel what you're juggling, and therefore, you don't really have to pay attention to it once you connect to the sensation and the feeling. So if this is something you're interested in doing, keep in mind you can do this with most everything around. Billiard balls, lacrosse balls, and this is a 3-inch acrylic ball, my favorite contact juggling ball. You can pick up one from me in the description below. I'll leave a link to my email address, and you can email me and I can ship you one in the mail if you ship me some money in Venmo or PayPal. But before you do that, please watch my circus and flow arts tutorials. Check out the contact juggling tutorial link in my playlist section. And if you do that, I can teach you how to teach yourself the art of contact juggling. I can even teach you the art of pediddling, spinning things on the tip of your finger. I can teach you devil sticks. I can teach you all sorts of amazing things. I can teach you how to teach yourself various circus and flow art skills. And that's a wrap, folks. I've said too much. Thanks very, very much for watching this all the way in. You are a trooper. You could have been doing something else in your life, but you chose to listen to this guy on his couch talk to you about whatever it is going on in his mind about ADHD and his school history and occupational therapy and circus and flow arts. One of the big things I got out of circus and flow arts was it helped me focus more too, believe it or not. It helped me with my ADHD, my ADD, whatever you want to call it. The devil sticks was one of the first things I picked up, and the contact juggling came a couple years after that. And it certainly helped me go into a place in my mind where I can have a dedicated focus on something. It's truly a blessing. And that's where I'll leave you. I'll end this video the way I've been ending all my videos lately with these words. Remember to never give up. Unless it's a bad habit, then drop that. Do your best, the best of your abilities. Stay true to you and who you are and what you stand for. Don't lie to yourself. Be honest with yourself. There's a lot of BS out there. The last thing you need to do is be deceitful to yourself. And of course, be amazing, my friends. Being amazing is as simple as being the best version of yourself. That's what I got for you today, folks. Thanks very much again, and I'll see you in the next video. Good night.